I'm Paris of Paris Ashley Home, and I'm going to show you how I transform my vanity. Let's get started. All right, to get started, let's see what we have to work with. I painted this Gale Force by Sherwin-Williams when we first moved into our home. So to get started, I'm going to be removing all of the hinges and the drawer faces from the drawers. The hardware has already been removed. My mother-in-law was visiting a little while back, and she knew that I was going to be updating my vanity and loved the hardware that I had on previously, and she asked if she could take it, and I said, you got it. So the hardware is already gone. And all we have to do is remove the rest of the pieces to get them outside and get painted. So let's take a little trip down memory lane. This picture right here is me pregnant with my second kid painting this vanity. I had no idea what I was doing. I had the worst paint sprayer known to man. It took 5 coats of spraying this thing. And when I was done, it actually looked really good. But then my contractor at the time told me to use polyurethane. What he did not tell me to use was a foam roller instead of a nap roller. I had no idea. So when I rolled on the polyurethane, all of the tiny little hairs from the nap roller came off, and now you can see how awful it looked. So do you know what I did? I took tweezers and I pulled out every single hair out of the vanity that I had painted on. It was awful. And then I used a hand brush and repainted the entire vanity and brushed on the polyurethane. And at that point, I decided, you know what? It's good enough. I've never done this before, and this looks way better than the red thing that it looked like before. Anyways, we're now outside, and this is my new Boris Centipede table stand. I love it. I just got it for my birthday. I do need to make a new table for it because this board is not big enough, but we will get to that a little later. Back to the actual vanity. Now that I have been DIYing for over a year and a half now, I feel like I have a good grasp on what I'm doing, so it's time to give this vanity another makeover. And we are going to start off with some TSP. So this is what you wipe on cabinets. It's like a degreaser. It takes the shine away from the polyurethane. It's kind of like a wet sandpaper. It's just really good cleaning material. I do wear gloves when I use it. You're supposed to do warm water, like 2 cups to a gallon. I just kind of wung it because I didn't want to fill up an entire gallon of liquid. Wipe everything down and then dry it all off, and then we are ready to sand. And just before we sand, we are going to use our Bondo. So I use Bondo versus wood filler when I'm doing something that I want to sand quickly. Bondo dries super hard, it dries super fast, but it is also super smelly, so make sure you wear a mask. With Bondo, you do need to use a hardener. I wouldn't try getting this on your hands, it's really gooey. So we use the hardener, it's a little blue color, we make it into like a nice little cloud blue, and then we fill all of our original hardware holes because I'm going to be doing all new hardware in different places on this set. And before we sand, I am removing all of these little old bumpers. They're really old and like squishy. I'm going to add all new ones, and it'll just make it easier when I am adding a fresh coat of paint. So let's get to sanding. I'm using my orbital sander with a 220 grit. I'm just doing a light sanding. I don't need to take this down to the bare wood for any reason because I am repainting this. I am just taking this down to smooth because I was the one to originally paint this. I know how bad the paint job was. So I do have to use a little bit more muscle, not a lot, just a little, just to make it nice and smooth, to make sure that the new coat of paint will not show any of the old paint streaks or leftover little nap roller fuzzies that I didn't smooth out previously. All right, so what happens when I can't get into the little grooves on the side of the drawer faces or inside the cabinet panel? I get out my contour sander block set and I find out which one has the correct groove to get into those little spaces. Perfect. Then I get my little sandpaper out. It comes with it, which is really, really nice. And then you wrap it around the little sander and sand your little heart away. Now all of our crevices are nice and sanded. Repeat this on all of the pieces, then head to your toe kick and give it a nice little sanding too. We don't want to forget. But wait, what is happening? The paint just peeled right off. Again, I was the one that painted this. Clearly, I did not prep it enough back in the day, but this time I am. This will be a paint-proof piece. We are sanding it, we are prepping it, and then we're going to go ahead and clean everything after we have sanded because we do not want dust on our pieces when we paint. Otherwise, the paint won't stick properly and the paint will peel up just like it did on the toe kick. All right, are you guys ready for the fun part, the next element? I am adding pole wrap to the faces of the doors and the side of the vanity. I'm so excited that this was finally in stock, and now I get to add it to my vanity and give it a nice little up level and that true remodel makeover that this vanity is getting. So I'm measuring my panels, and then I'm just going to cut down a long vertical piece of the pole wrap that will fit all 4 of these faces. And here is how it will look. So let's head over to our table saw and let's get these cut down. I'm going to cut the height of these first, and then I'm going to cut all 4 of them at the same height and width and make sure that they all fit. Then we are going to flip the board around and cut the vertical lengths, and then we need to double check that it fits. We're going to shave it down just a smidge more. Check one more time, and look at that, it fits perfect. So we're going to cut all 4 of these as well for all 4 door panels, and then we are ready to move on to the panel for the side of the vanity. So I have my measurements, perfect. Now let's take the large piece of pole wrap and get the measurements. I am going to cut vertically with my utility knife. It just makes it easier. Using my tape measure to prep for the circular saw. This is the easiest way to cut this without having to cut the entire roll. I don't want to waste any part of the roll that I am not using because I will use this in future projects. So once we get this piece cut off, we're going to go back to the table saw and we're going to start cutting out our notch. I cut against the grain first, and then again I use my utility knife and cut along the grain, and then I can go back to my table saw and refine this edge. And lastly, I need to trim it down just a touch so that the whole piece fits perfectly on the vanity. So let's head back inside and see if it fits. So far so good. I do need to trim a little bit of the baseboards because I want this to feel as if it is originally part of the vanity, and in doing that, the baseboard needs to wrap in front of it. So I'm going to grab my multi-tool and cut out just a chunk, and then I'm going to go back and forth until I feel that it fits correctly. So let's grab our pole wrap and slide it in and see if it fits. And so far so good. I'm loving how this is looking. So before we prep for paint, we just need to sand the vanity on the inside. I'm just doing a quick hand sanding. I'm not getting the orbital sander out. This is not going to be seen as much as the drawer faces and the door fronts, so I'm not worried about this being absolutely perfect. And I do know that with my painting abilities and my finishing touches, I will be able to make this look pretty close to flawless. I am using my detail sander with a 220 grit, and then I'm just going around all of the edges. And then after I'm done, I will go ahead and wipe it down as well to prep for paint. Alrighty, let's get these pole wrap pieces glued. I'm using Loctite glue. It's a very strong adhesive, and then I'm grabbing some wood blocks between each layer, and then rinse, lather, repeat. Let's glue each panel, put some blocks between each layer until we have all 4 done, and then I will add some heavy pieces to the top so the pole wrap can dry evenly and there are no ripples. So let's head inside and do the same for the paneling for the side of the vanity. Again, with the Loctite glue, spread evenly, and now I'm going to put it against the vanity and then use my 5-in-1 tool to kind of shimmy it into place. I'm not able to slide it as well with all of the glue on it, but with a little tap, tap, tap rooski and a little pressure, it is looking really good. And because I do not have this on a flat surface, it is vertical instead of horizontal. I cannot put books on it to hold it flat. Therefore, I'm going to grab my pin nailer and just add a few pin nails all around, and then I will head on to the inside of the vanity because they will go through and trim those down with my cutters. Alright, so before we paint, I do like to add the new hardware holes because if you wait till the end to do this after you paint, there are good chances you will scuff up your brand new paint. You may mess up the holes and have to do fixes, and then it's just a much longer process when you could just do it before. And if I make any mistakes right now, I can go ahead and fix it prior to painting. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make all of the new hardware holes on all of the drawer faces and the doors. I don't have any fancy ways of installing the new hardware. There are plenty of mechanisms. I just like good old-fashioned using a ruler, measuring, and putting it where I like it to go. I'm using hardware from Battle Creek Hardware. I am using the Paris ball knob and the complimentary Paris bar pull. After I test everything, I like to see how it looks, and ooh, it's gorgeous. I do have a discount code for you. If you use the code PARIS at your checkout, you will receive 15% off. So go enjoy that if you like this hardware. It is now time for caulking. We want to caulk all of the edges for that seamless look. I'm going to do all 4 edges, then I'm going to grab my baby wipes and give it a nice little wipe down. And then in all of the little crevices, I'm going to get a little nail and pull the caulk down. Otherwise, it will have a little globby look after you paint if you don't clean it up. And then again, this just gives it that professional look and feel after it's all done. All right, we are so close to painting, but now we need to prep for the actual painting part. Grab yourself some cup hooks. We are going to put these in the bottom. Repeat that, the bottom of the door panels and the drawer faces. We're going to put tiny little holes in the bottom of the doors and screw these little cup hooks in, and then we're going to use a nice little hanger and hang it. and it's just floating there midair for you to paint. It's so easy, and you will never see these holes because they are on the bottom. I do not fill these after the fact. I do not touch them up. You just don't see them, and it just works wonders. So repeat this on all of your panels, and we are ready to go. I am using my paint sprayer for this. I am using my Graco TC cordless paint sprayer, and I am using a bin shellac primer. I will recommend not doing this. Do not do this. This is an oil-based primer. You do not want to use oil-based products in your paint sprayer. I learned the hard way. I did not ruin my paint gun, thankfully, but it was a mess to clean up, and so just don't do it. What you want to use is a microfiber roller. It's a premium microfiber roller. This will give you the look of a paint sprayer without having to use a paint sprayer. But here we are, using the paint sprayer with this oil-based paint, and it's still gonna look amazing. It just caused for a horrible cleanup, but it's okay. No crying over spilled milk. Now we are ready to go. I do have my single panel hanging on a clothing rack and the rest of my pieces hanging on a scaffolding ladder in the background. This will give for a quick system of spraying. I'm gonna spray one piece, then I'm gonna just rotate down the row until they are all painted. You do want to make sure that you are wearing a mask and glasses. I also use a super cute shower cap to protect my hair when I wash my hair. I don't like all of those particles going into it, especially if it's an oil-based primer. You always want to prime your pieces before you paint, especially if you have any fresh wood. This will prevent the tannins from coming through the paint within the next 6 months to a year. It will happen. As well as gives you a nice, even, balanced palette to start when you do put on the color. So let's say goodbye to the blue, my very first DIY painting a piece of furniture project. It was a great memory, but it is time to say goodbye. So let's finish painting the rest of these, and then we're going to go ahead and head inside and get the actual base of the vanity painted as well. And I'm going to show you how we do that without the paint sprayer. I will start with a hand brush going down all of the grooves individually. This is a lot more tedious than you would expect. If I would roll this on first, I would still have to go back and get into the grooves. I'm not really sure which way is faster. This round I did do the grooves by hand first. The second round I did do the roller first, and frankly it took about the same amount of time. As we move to the face of the vanity, I'm now using my premium microfiber roller. This is linked below. Every product that I use is linked down below. The microfiber roller gives a beautiful finish. It does not have that orange peel texture. Even if you spray just a hint of water while you were painting, I didn't do it this round, but I did do it when I was doing some touch-ups. It just dries to a very, very smooth finish, and I would highly recommend if you are a new furniture flipper or if you are wanting to make over your vanity to use a microfiber roller. It will give you just as good of a look as a paint sprayer. I only use the paint sprayer outside because it's a lot faster than hand painting it all, but it would have had the exact same look. I have painted plenty of pieces with just a microfiber roller before. So let's move on to the color of the paint. We are using pewter green. This is originally a Sherwin-Williams color. I did have it filled by Behr at Home Depot in a urethane enamel paint. The only reason I had it done by Behr, I was in a contract, a collaboration contract, and I wasn't allowed to share other products aside from Behr, Kills, and Magnolia. But the Sherwin-Williams would have looked the exact same as this. I did use a urethane enamel paint. This cures to a rock hard finish within 30 days. So this does not require a polyurethane top coat, which is the beauty of it. I love using a urethane enamel for furniture and doors especially. But it is the top of the line paint, so it does come with a heavier price tag, but you don't have to buy the polyurethane, and you are saving a step. Well, you're saving 3 steps, because with polyurethane, you do have to do 3 coats, standing between each coat, which is a lot of work. When, in fact, I am done with all of these pieces right here. So we head back inside, and before I start painting, I do like to do a technique called wet sanding. I use this mister, very light mist with a 400 to 600 grit pad, just very lightly. It just knocks down any texture, any bumps in the primer. So as you see this time, I am using the roller first, and I still have to go back and get in every single groove. I don't know which one is faster. I did try and put on the paint a little bit thicker so that I could use the dripping paint and get it into the grooves. I feel like this might have been faster. Frankly, again, I'm not really sure. After I got the side, I again went with my microfiber roller on the front face of the cabinet, and then I did end up having to do 2 coats of this color. As I'm finishing getting this first final coat on, the vision is starting to come to life, and I'm starting to see what I have been dreaming of for the past few months. I've had this mocked up in my computer for quite a while now, and for the fact that I am actually almost done with this is just such a dream come true. So let's head back outside and check out our pieces. The doors are looking so good, and the drawer faces too, but this one has a nasty drip on it. Do you see that in the reflection? Let me show you how we fix that with wet sanding. So let's grab our mister, and we are just going to do a nice light mist over it, and then we will grab our detail sander with a 220 grit, and this kind of like, it re-wets the paint, it reactivates it, and it just smooths it out. It doesn't really sand away unless there is a big bump. It does sometimes take it down to the primer, but we're just going to go back over this until there is no glare, no reflection of that drip, and see how it's pretty much gone? Perfect. There are a few more spots, so I will go over all of these before we touch up with paint. See, this one, that was a thick one. That was a drip from the primer. So that one we had to go all the way down. And again, we will fix this with a microfiber roller, and you will never know that those drips were there. This is the beauty of wet sanding and a microfiber roller. Again, I could have painted this entire set with the microfiber roller. Microfiber is a tongue twister. Do you hear me? Like, I feel like I'm saying it over and over again, and it doesn't sound like a word anymore. Anyways, back to what we're talking about here. The microfiber roller gives that seamless look after it dries. There are no orange peel textures. It just dries really, really smooth. And now you can see that you can no longer see those paint drips. Some spots I will need to go over twice, but for the most part, just one more nice little coat with the microfiber roller, and we are good to go. So let's swing around, and let's get some hardware installed, and that is that Paris bar pull and that Paris ball knob. It is absolutely stunning on this pewter green, and I can't wait to get inside and get these installed. So let's get our fake drawer on first, give it a little bumperooski, pop, pop. There it is. How cute does that look? I love it. So let's get the rest of our door knobs on. And then I'm going to add some new rubber bumpers. Just get these off Amazon. Cute little sticky rubber bumpers. This just prevents your doors from the paint rubbing on top of the surface. Gives it that professional finished look when it's all done. And because we are making this look as good as it possibly can, I do have some soft close hinges here that I will be adding to my doors and drawers. The hinges are super easy to install. I just used the previous holes on the doors. You do want to measure for your cabinets for the overlap. Mine have a 3/8 inch overlap. Yours might be different, so check that out before you order these. So let's go ahead and add that screw into the actual face frame, top and bottom. And let's go ahead and watch the beauty of the soft close. So nice. Let's go ahead and add our toe kick back in. This is kind of hard to wedge in there, so I got my rubber mallet, and I just had to go back and forth, giving a little taparooski until I got it in. I had to wedge it behind that baseboard. It was a little bit tricky, but I got the job done. And when I was done, I added a few pin nails because we don't want this puppy coming out or slipping out or anything happening, because you don't ever know what's going on underneath your cabinets at night. So I added a few pin nails, and then I got my paintbrush and I fixed that little side corner. And then it was time to install all of the drawers. And here is a quick guide on how to install new drawer slides. First, you want to install your old drawer slides. Then you want to take your speed square and make a mark on the center line of your drawer. It doesn't need to be exactly center, it just gives you a nice little guide. And then make the same mark on the actual vanity itself, so you know that your drawer slides that you attach to the vanity will be the same center as your actual drawer. So now it's time to remove the old drawer slides and install the new hardware. There are multiple ways to do this. One round I drilled each hole individually and drilled each screw individually. One round I drilled all the holes at the same time and did all the screws at the same time. You just kind of find your rhythm and what works best for you. This worked for this round, and again I changed it up the next round. So now that all of the screws are in the drawer slide, I repeated it on the opposite side, and it is time to remove the old drawer slides from the actual vanity. Now these drawer slides are back wall mounted, so I needed to get the new drawer slides to have back wall mount attachments. We will get there, but for now I'm going to drill the holes in the vanity at the markings that I had made initially when I pulled the drawers out. Then I'm going to go ahead and drill in the new drawer slides. You can see those little back wall mounts. That's an actual attachment on the drawer slide. They don't normally come with that. You do have to order those separately. So again, this first round did take me a couple trial and errors to figure out how exactly these drawer slides were going to be installed, but after the third drawer I went from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. So while I was trying that first drawer, this is where my trial and error came into play. This drawer was having trouble clicking in. It just wasn't attaching very well after going back and forth. I realized that it was about 1/8 of an inch less than the previous drawer slides. So I went ahead and added just a tiny little shim with some skinny cardboard, and then it was perfect. I also initially had the screws in the two outer screw areas, and I realized having them in the center areas, being able to move that screw left and right, gave me the ability to adjust the drawer slide so that it could just slide right in. So after that, it was pretty easy going. I just repeated the process a little bit more seamlessly. I drilled my holes, and then I attached my new drawer slides, and this round I just automatically added that little shim into place, and that gave that little extra thickness for the drawer to be able to attach to the new drawer slide. Once I got that drawer on, I was able to go back and forth until it just went nice and sweet, and then I would pull the drawer out and kind of just give the look in the back to see where those screws were on those mounts on the back, and then I would go ahead and tighten it, and it was good to go. So let's get these drawer faces on. So let's put the screws on. The hardware is drilled in from the face. I could have gotten longer screws, but then I would have had to have figured out where the holes were on the actual drawer slide, and that would have been a lot harder to figure that space out. So I just decided to do the old toothpaste route. I put a little toothpaste where these screws were, and then I attached the drawer face just enough to make a nice little white dot on the drawer, and then I used my counterbit screw and I drilled a very deep hole, thick hole, so that the screw on the drawer face would lay flat on the drawer. I went ahead and screwed the drawer face on, repeated the process on the third drawer, and all that was left was the finishing touches. A cute new rug to finish off the space. And if you've made it this far, please hit that subscribe button, because the rest of the bathroom is getting a makeover too. New backsplash, new mirrors, new light, new faucets. I hope you like how this turned out, and thanks for watching. Go check out my other videos, and I'll see you soon.